Hi everyone, my name is Leonore. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be starting a new vlog where I'm going to be not only reading but also organizing the house after Christmas. I'm going to be taking the decorations down, probably making some food and sharing the whole day and maybe a few more days with you. But let's start with the books. So the first book I'm going to be talking about is The Scorpio Races by Maggie Stiefvater. So this is an urban fantasy set in a small island here in England, and where the sea is magical. It's vague at the start. I'm like 30% into this book. I think I've read 130 pages. And how they describe it is that magical water horses come out of this magical sea every autumn. They're wild and they're much bigger than normal horses. And they're pretty dangerous. And so what would humans do with them? Oh, I don't know. Try to tame them and create races out of this, of course. So yeah, every year there are these races that happen in this island. And we are following two characters. Both of them are orphans. The main girl has two brothers and they kind of take care of each other. They still live in their parents' house, but it's just the three of them now. And the main guy, he lost his father a long time ago, and he has been involved in the races since he was a child. And so he now works for this famous stable at the island, and he's a horse trainer, not only of these magical water horses, but also just general normal horses. I think there's a little bit of romance, but it's mostly about these races, the both of them competing and getting to know each other, I guess. Where I'm at 130 pages, they haven't really met yet, so we'll see what's going to be happening. The second book I'm reading is The Luminaries by Susan Dennard. This is about a world where you have gods sleeping in various locations under the earth. And throughout the centuries, this society developed around these gods to protect the world from them, because every night when they dream, their nightmares come to life. And so this society was divided in days of the week. So you would have people every night going into the woods and protecting the rest of civilization from these nightmares. And that means that you have like houses divided by the days of the week. So on Monday, the Mondays go and fight. On Tuesday, the Tuesdays go and fight. That kind of thing. I'm really enjoying it. I think there's going to be a romance in this. So I'm hoping it's good. And I've read 56 pages out of 300 pages. So I still have quite a bit to read. Finally, I also have a third book, which I wasn't really going to mention because it's really tiny, but I might as well talk about it because I'm actually enjoying it. Last night I started Mysteries of Thorn, Manor by Margaret Rogerson, which is a novella set after Sorcery of Thorns, which is a book from Margaret Rogerson that I read almost 2 years ago, and I really loved it. So when I heard this was coming out, I just went and snatched it up and started reading it immediately. I'm 40 pages in out of 180, but these pages are so small. Let me show you. Yeah, these pages are so small that I would actually consider them half the size of a normal page. But yes, so we have gotten to the end of the intro, finally. I will now start cleaning up the house, taking all of the Christmas decorations off, and then kind of putting back some of my kind of all year, year-round decorations back in their places. I hope you'll enjoy this vlog, and I'll see you in just a bit. Hi, so it's the next day. Yesterday, as you just saw, I took all the decorations down and then I struggled to redecorate my bookshelf. So I think I'm gonna give it a second go today. I decided to stop for yesterday. I went back to reading and I'll now go back and try and do it again. With fresh eyes, actually so fresh that I haven't even had coffee this morning or any sort of food. So I think I'm gonna do that first and then I'll tackle the decorating and then I'll go back to reading. But before I do that, I wanted to update you on the books. So yesterday I decided to sit down to read the Mysteries of Thorn Manor novella, and I read the majority. I got to, so it's 180 pages, and I got to 160 pages, and then I was so exhausted that I decided to go to sleep. I'm really enjoying Mysteries of Thorn Manor. It's just a fun little thing so we can kind of catch up to the characters after a few months of when the first book ended, and it's just enjoyable. You have moments of the main character with all of the characters from the other book. It's supposed to be romantic, you're supposed to kind of see where they are and their relationship, and how it's going to continue forward as well. It's set in a kind of winter setting with a winter ball and everything, and so if I didn't get to it this winter, I think I would have missed the atmosphere of the book. It's just a super cute little book and I'm really liking it. I'm hoping to finish it with my breakfast this morning because I really have like 10 pages left. Even though they're 20, they're tiny pages. So it's like 10 full pages left. Now moving on to the Scorpio races. As I said, I only really read 25 pages, but I can feel that we are starting to get to the point where I'm excited about this book. So for me, this was a very slow start. It's quite dark and sad, and it has this moody seaside feel. You can imagine one of the darkest days of winter when the sky is all dark grey and it's raining. That's the kind of feel that I get from this book all the time. And so I had a hard time actually connecting with everything, but I feel like now things are maybe kind of starting to happen. I'm excited to see where they go, even though we are already at 39% of this book, but hopefully they'll pick up just a bit at least from now on. Like, I'm liking the book. I think it's a good book. The writing is good. The characters are interesting characters that have good backstories, they're fleshed out. The setting as well is super atmospheric. I'm just not necessarily in the mood for a dark in terms of themes, but also in terms of atmosphere read at the moment, which is why I think it's taking a bit for me to get into it. But I'll hopefully enjoy it quite a lot. But yes, I will now make myself some breakfast and a drink, and then I'll go back to decorating, but I'll then, after decorating, go back to actually reading. Not sure if the Scorpio races or the Luminaries. We'll see when we get there. I will see you in just a bit then. Hi, so it's now the next day. My plan, I have been working all morning and so I didn't really continue with my reading, but I am now going to be making some lunch and then afterwards I will continue reading. I did read yesterday evening, as you saw, but I then even continued into bed. Basically, I'm here to do a reading update and tell you what I'm going to be doing today. So, I have finished Mysteries of Thorn, Manor by Margaret Rogerson. This, as I said before, was a little novella catching up to the characters of Sorcery of Thorns. And that was Elizabeth and Nathaniel. Is a really good little story. Not only caught up with all of the characters or the important characters from Sorcery of Thorns, it showed how their relationships evolved. It brought a new little mystery as well as continuing with the romance a bit. It was just lovely being back in this world with these characters, but it's literally just that, it's for you to catch up with them and go back to this world. It didn't really add that much to the story. It tried to at the end, but actually that made me feel a little bit icky. I like the ending, but having into account the main character's age, I felt like it was a little bit premature, the ending of this book. But all in all, I gave it 4 stars. It actually made me want to reread Sorcery of Thorns. So yeah, I might actually do that in the near future. But not now, because I am in the middle of 2 other books. One of them being the Luminaries. So when I first talked about this book, I was 50 pages in? Maybe a bit more. Now I am halfway through this book. So yesterday afternoon, I continued reading this. I made my way through 150 pages. 100 pages left to read today. Today's technically the last day of this vlog because I'm going to be working the next 2 days. But I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do the final update today because, as you can see, it's starting to get dark, which means I'll lose light pretty quickly, and we don't want these vlogs to be even worse quality than they already are. So I will catch up to you on Monday, but hopefully I will actually finish this today. I'm so excited to finish it because I am loving this book. I was not really expecting it. I thought I would enjoy it. It's a YA fantasy, but actually the main character, you really root for her. The plot is interesting because you have the trials. It's an easy enough structure to follow. Side characters are quite good as well. The fact, her backstory, the fact that she used to have 2 friends that now have kind of deserted her, as well as the rest of the town, and she really misses everyone, but she also resents everyone for being horrible to her. She has nothing to do with the fact that her dad betrayed them all, but her whole family is being affected by this, and everyone has deserted them, and obviously you have the consequences of that. She's alone, she's lonely, and she misses her friends that now just ignore her. When she was accepted back into the Luminaries, everyone just behaved like they had never left, like they were never outcasts, or like they had gone for a holiday and then came back. And she is kind of trying to deal with that. But the only thing that I found that I would have liked the author to develop a bit more is the talk around mental health, because obviously all of these things, the trauma of her dad being a traitor, the fact that she lost all of her friends and basically her family, apart from her mom and her sibling, this is all very traumatic and it has consequences on your mental health. and it's not really talked about that much, having into account that this book is coming out at the end of January here in the UK. I feel like it needed a little bit more mental health talk. But apart from that, I had mentioned the atmosphere is really well developed. I felt like it was really immersive. I could feel myself there. You know, the rainy days, the cold, but then you had these rays of sunshine coming through and helping with the new growth at the end of winter, beginning of spring. I am loving this book, and I think it's a tick for all of the components that make up this book, I would say. But yes, I am now hoping to finish this book today. And if it goes the way I think it's going, it's going to be a 5-star read, or at least a 4.5-star read. And I'm really happy with this. Being one of the first books of the year, already a 5-star is amazing. Let me now go make some lunch, and we'll meet back here for some reading in a bit. Hi, so welcome to the end of the vlog. It's now Monday and I'm here to update you on my reading for this last week. I was reading the Scorpio races, and I had started the Mysteries of Thorn, Manor and the Luminaries at the start of this video. I had already started all of these 3 books. The first one I finished rather quickly was Mysteries of Thorn, Manor by Margaret Rogerson. I've talked about this on my last check-in, but I really enjoyed this book. It was kind of what I was expecting for a little novella after Sorcery of Thorns. And obviously I enjoyed the Sorcery of Thorns a lot more than this novella, and actually it made me want to reread it. So I kind of think it did its job in a nice way. It wasn't perfect, but it was good. Moving on, I'm gonna leave the Luminaries till the end because I did stop reading Scorpio races. I'm on page 189, 47 through this book, but I was just going very slowly, and not only was I going slowly, but I was having to force myself to read this book. I'm enjoying it. It's a very good book and I can really see the merit in it, but I'm not completely vibing with it. I feel like it's quite dark and sad. And not only is the atmosphere kind of dark and moody and gloomy, but the characters, their backstories are quite sad and gloomy. And I just couldn't find a ray of sunshine in there anywhere, and it was just making me more depressed. As you can see, I'm filming right near the window because it's so dark out, and it has been very dark for the whole of January and December. I just didn't want that out of my books as well. So I'm stopping for now. I will continue, but I'm just pausing it for now. Now moving on to The Luminaries by Susan Dennard. Starting out with my rating, which I normally don't do. This is a 4.75 to 5-star book. I really enjoyed this book. It's everything I wanted out of a YA fantasy. Characters are super rootable, the atmosphere is amazing, the story is pretty interesting, the relationships are just... And I did mention in my last clip about the mental health issue, but I think that throughout the book it is explored in a kind of undercurrent way. It's there, it's just not explicit. I just really enjoyed this book. I think the action and the trial element were pretty interesting. How I tell that the book is a 5-star read and not a 4-star read is if at the end I want to reread it or I want to continue on to the next book. And in this case, I did immediately just want the second book. The mysteries explored in this book haven't really been resolved completely, and I feel like Susan Dennard wrote a very good cliffhanger that makes you want to read more immediately, but it's not one of those that you feel like you're suffering, which is why I gave this book basically a 5-star, because I just feel like all of the elements were really good. And I love this book. It was the perfect YA fantasy, relatively short, with a little hint of romance, which made me happy and excited for the next one. So I guess I'll see you in the next video, and I hope you enjoyed this one. And I'm excited to continue. I'm excited to continue reading throughout this 2023, as I've just logged my 3rd book. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll see each other next time. Bye!